In the year 2000, Mrs. Pamela Stoffel of the McQuaid Jesuit English Department put into action an inspiration. She decided to have the seniors compete in a competition highlighting the students' talents in public speaking. With the help of her colleagues from the department and friends from others, her vision became a reality, and the first scholarship was awarded to a deserving winner. Mrs. Stoffel continued to moderate the contest until her retirement, and not even a global pandemic could shut it down. The 5 men seated to my left have been selected from their sections of Senior English to participate in this year's event. They have mastered their speeches and shown themselves to understand the art of persuasive rhetoric. All participants will receive a certificate of participation. The third place winner will receive a $100 Amazon gift card. The second place winner will be eligible to receive a $500 scholarship to the college or university of his choice. And the speaker, who in the determination of the judges is the outstanding speaker for 2023, will receive a $1,000 scholarship to the college or university of his choice. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 23rd installment of the Pamela Stoffel Senior Speech Competition of McQuaid Jesuit. Gentlemen, I ask for your attention to these speakers. They have worked very hard. Your first speaker up will be Robert Evangelista.
The desire to get better. I truly believe that it is very valuable as a parent, a good parent, to force your child to play sports. It teaches camaraderie, it teaches partnership and unity, let alone the physical benefits should be enough to convince you of my agenda. However, that is not the argument I would like to focus on. It is the mental aspect of it, rather than the physical. Sports, the gym, physical activity, they can all be used as vehicles. Vehicles out of dilemma, out of anxieties, out of personal issues and insecurities, to find something physically demanding that you genuinely enjoy is extremely beneficial for young people. As much as it stings and itches our skin as young men to admit, I know that at one point, as a young person, we have convinced ourselves that maybe we were a loser. Some of us might still believe that. But how will you ever know you are not that loser if you do not start winning? Through sports and physical activities, we can go from being these incredibly insecure failures to someone who is really good at something, that one thing. It brings not only an improved sense of confidence, but an understanding of the correlation, the direct correlation between hard work and success. People are not going to believe in you. They're not going to have faith in you. They're not going to want you to do certain things because they are jealous. But through sports, you can truly find out who you are. And in the face of other people's criticism or lack of faith, you push through. You continue to train. You continue to work out. You continue to not put other people on a pedestal and care about their opinion. You continue, continue, continue. You desire to get better. See, in life, you have to be able to find your own human potential in the difficulty of a task and work through it. By sports involuntarily putting us through difficult things, failures, upsets, disappointments, you nourish your minds just as food nourishes your body. Hard physical work is not just brute grunt work. It is emotional intelligence. Understanding the great desire to quit. Understanding the great desire to give in, but rather conquering that inner coward and instead desiring to get better. No matter how positive of a thinker you are, no matter how lighthearted you are, no matter how optimistic you are, there's going to be bad days in life. There's going to be heartbreaks, failures, setbacks, deaths, events so upsetting and sad it genuinely sickens you to your stomach. And with those comes a surplus of questions that consume your thoughts. God, why did they have to die? Why did they have to leave my life? For us athletes, right? Why did that college coach have to ghost me? That's not fair at all. I worked my ass off the entire offseason so I could perform in front of them, show them how good of a player I was, impress them. All for what? For them to stop texting and emailing me back? For them to give my roster spot to some other kid? See, all I personally ever wanted was that big D1 offer from that big D1 school so I could post it everywhere. So people would respect me now. People would think I was a great athlete now. People would think I was better than the average person now. And I never got that. I never got that satisfaction in anything. Finding myself awake at 3 in the morning with such great anger, frustration, confusion, sadness, all emotions about things that I could not control. I could not control it. And if it wasn't for my parents at an early age pushing me to play sports, and if it wasn't for my friends that one day pushing me to go to the gym with them, I'd have no way of releasing those emotions. I'd have no way of finding peace again. See, I realized in those two things, you're in control full-heartedly. When you step into that gym, you have authority over everything. It's just you and the weights. No one can alter it. No one can change it. Same with when you train for your sport. How much you put in is how much you get out. Nothing someone else or something else does can keep you from that. When participating in either of those things, you have an aspiration to improve your well-being. You have an aspiration to endeavor on a greater journey, no matter the outside circumstances, hardships, or people's opinions. In other words, you have a desire to get better. And that is why parents should force their kids to play sports. Thank you.
I'm Michael Spiegel. As a nation, America has normalized the use of alcohol in everyday life. Through the use of social media platforms, television programs, and sporting events, alcohol has been advertised as a safe and social substance. However, alcohol, like many other substances, can be easily overused. Misuse of alcohol causes irreversible damage to the lives of those using it and those around them. I believe that it is important to understand how alcohol is more harmful than it may seem. In 1920, the 18th Amendment was written into the U.S. Constitution, which prevented the manufacturing, sale, and transportation of alcoholic beverages in the United States. This amendment was brought into action mostly through the Women's Christian Temperance Union, who believed that alcohol was a destructive force in families and marriages. The amendment was in place for just 13 years before it was repealed, due to the overwhelming amount of people breaking the law. Today, alcohol is similarly a problem within many families and in other aspects of life. With the mass production of cars and car-dependent cities, the chances of drinking and driving is higher than ever before. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, there were roughly 11,000 deaths related to alcohol-impaired driving in 2020 alone. And a staggering 30% of fatal accidents are alcohol-related, based on a statistic from the New York State Police. Within our community, this culture surrounding alcohol is seen through the use of advertising and promotion of alcoholic drinks. All around Rochester, we see the commercials and billboards for the Buffalo Bills partnered with well-known brands such as Bud Light, which promote the use of alcohol alongside America's favorite sports. These marketing strategies allow devoted Bills fans to associate their favorite sports with alcohol, According to the sports market intelligence company, SportsCal, leading 30 alcoholic beverage brands are spending over $700 million a year to sponsor athletic clubs in the sports industry. Due to these marketing strategies and its widespread accessibility, millions of hardworking Americans have grown the desire to crack open a cold one after a long day of work or on the weekend with friends. And although the act of having a drink with friends does not pose a deadly threat, mistakes can be made. Dane LeClaire was a generational volleyball player who graduated from McQuaid Jesuit. LeClaire was working on his graduate and assistant coaching for the Nebraska women's volleyball team. One night, LeClaire went out drinking with his friends. At the end of that night, he was left to get home alone, heavily intoxicated. LeClaire tragically fell to his death after trying to get into his apartment through his balcony. A devastating death like Dane LeClaire's is a prime reason for the dangers of alcohol. Not only is alcohol potentially lethal, it also leaves a lasting impact on the lives of the people around you when you misuse it. My freshman year, I came to McQuaid full of excitement as I look forward to the next 4 years of high school. A new school with new faces and a multitude of opportunities for me to establish a future for myself. One night in September 2019, my father had informed me that my mother had just been arrested for her fourth and final DUI. She was to be booked in the county jail and later sentenced to 1 year in prison. Around a week after her incarceration, I heard that my mother had been publicly humiliated by a local radio talk show. This enraged me, as I was forced to imagine the embarrassment endured from my mother for a mistake which she so deeply regretted. Alcoholism is often not a daily decision for those who suffer, but rather a disease which they feel they have no control over. Although my mother's alcoholism was nothing new to me, the idea of others knowing created a lot of shame within me. I saw McQuaid Jesuit as an opportunity for me to escape that aspect of my life and focus on greater things. But, like any other issue, it cannot be avoided by simply moving somewhere new. As I mature and prepare for my life past McQuaid, I reflect back on these negative experiences, which were a direct result of my mother's alcoholism, and utilize them to help me guide my decisions in my life. As we, brothers of the McQuaid class of 2023, close in on our final days of high school, we are taking our first steps out of McQuaid and into the future of independence. In college, we are left to our own devices, and with so much change and growth on the horizon, I urge each and every one of you to remember that alcohol, like any other drug, can destroy lives. Not just the lives of ourselves, but those around you who care about you. Thank you.
Nicholas Howlett. Teenagers today are faced with more stress and darkness than ever before. The darkness in our world is poisoning the minds of our youth. Between the hatred in the news and the false narratives throughout social media, teenagers are in a constant battle with themselves to fit in and feel satisfaction. Teens feel the urge to cover up how they feel and put a mask on over their emotions. Well, wearing a mask every day becomes too much. According to the CDC, suicide is the second leading cause of death among teenagers in the United States. In our society today, there has been an increase in awareness around the issue of youth suicides. From posts on social media pointing out the signs to watch out for in a friend, or calling upon teens to reach out to someone if they are having suicidal thoughts or depression. Well, the 4,600 adolescents, according to PreventSuicideNY.org, who commit suicide each year, never reached out. Or perhaps no one was listening. To combat the alarming number of teenage suicides, mental health classes must be part of the required curriculum in grades 6 through 12 throughout schools in America. Suicide among the youth in America has become a serious problem and continues to grow. According to the American Society for the Positive Care of Children, there is an average of over 5,400 daily suicide attempts by children in grades 7 through 12. Despite more mental health resources being put out for struggling teens, the youth are still suffering and taking their own lives at an alarming rate. Simply hanging up signs in public places and telling people to call a number when they are feeling depressed is not enough. Especially for teenagers, it is difficult to admit to having depression and suicidal thoughts. The youth can feel too ashamed or embarrassed to share their feelings and receive the help they may need. Maybe they'll build up the courage to call the suicide hotline, or maybe they'll just happen to walk by a poster telling them to reach out to someone, giving them a newfound sense of hope. But in most cases, it's too late. We cannot assume that people who are suffering will find it within themselves to seek the help they need. Instead of saying that we will reach out our hand and help if called upon, we must take initiative and reach out our hand, grab hold, and not let go until those who are suffering are healed. Requiring children to learn about their emotions and how to deal with them will shed more light on the youth suicide crisis in this country. This class would include lessons on how to tell the signs of suicide so that you can help not only yourself, but people around you who may be struggling. To fit this necessary class into a school schedule, it would be placed on a rotating cycle, being taught during physical education every other period. Some would say that the issue is not that children committing suicide are too ashamed to reach out for help, but rather that people are not able to pick up on these signs before it is too late. According to Lifespan.org, in 4 out of 5 teen suicide cases, there was some type of warning sign shown before they took their own lives. Incorporating mental health classes would help the youth to understand these signs and what to do if they detect them in themselves or others before it is too late. In order to create a safer and healthier environment for the youth of America, adding a course that promotes better habits and teaches teenagers how to deal with their mental issues will decrease teen suicide rates and bring the awareness that is needed to this pressing issue. The youth in this country are crying out for help, and we must require methods of support to help them through their struggles, not just offer them. Thank you.
I'm Doug. Your wife and daughter are making their weekly girls-only shopping trip on Saturday while you are busy at work. They are having a wonderful time as they usually do and are frolicking around the mall with joy. Suddenly, their fun shopping trip is disturbed by a loud alarm, flashing emergency lights, and a booming voice over the intercom, placing the entire mall under a lockdown. There's an active shooter. You get a notification that there's an active shooter, but you don't think much of it because around this time, your wife and daughter are typically home. Your wife and daughter are trapped inside the mall and no one in the mall has any way of defending themselves because the Second Amendment has been abolished. The attackers make their way to your wife and daughter and harm them. You're heartbroken and distraught. You later learn that the attacker had obtained the gun illegally. How could this be possible? The abolishment of the Second Amendment was supposed to guarantee zero gun violence. You have no choice but to feel immense guilt looking at all those anti-Second Amendment posts you've made on Facebook over the years. You feel as if you've contributed to their deaths in some sort of way. The Second Amendment should not be removed, and here are 2 reasons as to why. First, many people who promote banning the Second Amendment fail to understand that banning guns will only remove weapons from law-abiding citizens. Because at the end of the day, a criminal has the intent to commit a crime, and obtaining or having to make a gun will not stop their desire to harm, simply because it is now illegal. Another reason the Second Amendment should not be removed is because it makes the majority of Americans feel safe, which is one of the most important qualities of America, and one of the reasons that the United States of America is a great nation. A criminal who has the intent to commit a violent crime will not stop at any lengths to possess a firearm, even if he must commit another crime to do so. Drugs being illegal should stop overdoses, right? Wrong. As a nation, we are in the midst of one of the deadliest drug epidemics, the opioid epidemic. The same philosophy applies to guns. Banning guns would only create a black market for guns, and that would make the situation even worse because at that point we wouldn't even know who has the guns. From the years 2010 to 2023, the United Kingdom has experienced 7 mass shootings even after outlawing guns. This can show that although we ban guns, it does not stop evil people from committing heinous crimes. According to the Center of American Progress, the ATF reports that from the years 2010 to 2020, over 600,000 firearms were recovered in states that they did not originate in. The ATF also reports that over 380,000 firearms are stolen from private owners every year. These statistics show that if someone has a motive or a desire to possess a firearm to commit a crime, they will do so. The statistics also show that gun trafficking is a prominent issue in the United States, and this would mean that there are firearms and weapons coming into the country from outside of the country, which translates to, we do not know who owns and has these guns on the streets. If we do not know who owns the guns and the Second Amendment is repealed, we are keeping a plethora of illegal guns on the streets while taking away the legal ones we know about from law-abiding citizens who desire to protect themselves or families. Americans value safety, and there's very little they will allow to get into their way of their desire to acquire safety. According to the Washington Post, this was made evidently clear during their polling in 2013, when 75% of Americans with guns in the home said that they believe that their home is more safe now because they have a gun in the home. America has prided itself as a safe and free nation for many years now, but by removing the Second Amendment, we would be going back on our promise to deliver life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in this nation, because without being safe, we cannot pursue either life, liberty, or happiness. Without guns, we risk stripping the line of defense we have established for ourselves and our families to feel safer. Many people tend to argue that gun owners and easy access to guns leads to mass shootings and violent crimes in the United States. Yes, the statistics that you see regarding the United States having an extremely high rate of gun violence across the nation are true. But these statistics are misleading as they tend to leave out the reasons these numbers are unproportionately high. Gang-related incidents. Any American who does not read the fine print regarding statistics such as those are easily misled. There are plenty of reasons as to why Americans will always believe the Second Amendment should be removed. But there will never be a reason to justify stripping an American of their ability to feel safe and protect their families. As Americans, we must prioritize our safety and understand that no matter what we do to ban guns, the truth is gun violence will always remain unless we attack the source of the problem, the lack of unity in our nation. It is imperative that we as Americans stand against legislation and legislators that want to strip us of the rights that our forefathers granted to us, the rights that over 750,000 American soldiers died to protect. Thank you.
Liam Sisson. You're halfway home on a long road trip. You're exhausted, barely able to concentrate on the road, and absolutely starving. Almost magically, there's a sign on the side of the thruway for a rest stop in a half mile. You turn the corner, and there's a giant glowing yellow M. The prospect of a juicy Big Mac leaves your mouth watering. After what feels like an eternity, you're sitting down to eat. Burgers, fries, even a milkshake in front of you. But where did that meat come from? McDonald's gets their beef from a company called Keystone, who supplies them with over 150 million pounds of beef per year. Did you know that the FDA allows fecal contamination in your meat? With over 150 million pounds of beef supplied to McDonald's, it is likely that the burger you just ate had feces in it. You may not always get sick from it. However, undercooked by just a couple degrees means an all-nighter with several trips to the bathroom, maybe even to the hospital. This is due to 3 facts about the American meat industry. It is filthy, environmentally unsustainable, and inhumane. My name is Liam Sisson, and I'm here to tell you why the government needs to expand animal cruelty laws to include meat animals. Let's start with some facts. At this point in time, the New York State animal cruelty laws make a distinction between companion animals, meaning cats and dogs, and farm animals, meaning cattle, poultry, swine. 90% of these meat animals in your food live in factory farms, known as concentrated animal feeding operations, or CAFOs. Now, the first reason that animal cruelty laws in America should include meat animals is because the entire process is frankly disgusting. These poor animals are taken away from their mother immediately at birth and spend the first year of their life in a tiny pasture. From there,
They're shipped to factory farms, where they spend what's left of their life knee-deep in their own feces in an even smaller pasture with thousands of other animals. Chickens are even skinned alive to save the time of putting them out of their misery. If these were companion animals, anyone involved in these farms would receive a year of jail time for each of the 10 billion animals slaughtered every year, according to the federal law. Why do we as humans get to decide which animals can be tortured and murdered and which cannot? However much you care about animals, anyone can see that these victims deserve more than they're given. They're as much a part of God's creation as we are. Next, animal cruelty laws should expand to include animals in the meat industry because CAFOs are a major source of pollution in the U.S. Every year, 1.3 billion tons of solid waste from these animals, along with chemicals used in the process, are dumped in man-made lagoons. These lagoons overflow into nearby rivers and seep into groundwater, which pollutes drinking water with harmful chemicals such as ammonia. Greenhouse gases from these lagoons are also a major cause of air pollution. Expanding animal cruelty laws to include meat animals will greatly reduce the size and functions of factory farms, which will in turn reduce the amount of pollution given off. This benefits not only the people in the surrounding area, but the whole world. Finally, people everywhere would benefit from having cleaner meat and animal products. As I mentioned, CAFOs allow a certain amount of fecal matter and bacteria into your meat. One federal inspector spoke about his experiences during the litigation of the USDA, saying that if there was no visible fecal contamination on the birds going along the conveyor belt, he could do nothing about it. Many chickens went by him with bowels still intact and contamination inside the bird. These conditions have led to many being hospitalized and even dying of E. coli and other bacterial infections. Once again, the solution to this problem is halting the factory production of meat. Expanding animal cruelty laws that would mean that these animals could not be killed in the current fashion, as well as forcing farms to keep them further apart and cleaner. This would prevent most or all of the contamination throughout the process and keep feces out of your stomachs. Just imagine, you sit down to eat that Big Mac after a long drive without having to worry about what you are putting into your body. There's no chance you're eating cow poop, and even less chance you will become sick. Although that cow died for your meal, it was killed humanely. That is a future I want for not only myself, but for all future generations and for the animals that sacrifice their lives. Thank you.
The judges have deliberated. Congratulations to all of the contestants for their hard work. Yes, we can clap there. Yes. In third place, winner of a $100 gift card to Amazon, Liam Sisson. In second place, winning eligibility for a $500 scholarship to the College University of his choice, Michael Spiegel. And this year's winner of the 2000